This is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life, and I wasn't even planning on making a video today, but I feel like I need to get out of my system because I have been welling up with tears and having full body chills from being scared. If you know me in real life, that never happens to me, so I feel like I just need to get out of my system. So this is that story. This happened 4 years ago. I was a freshman in college and I was talking to this boy at the time, and he caught me when I was coming home for the weekend from college, and he asked if he could take me stargazing. I say yes, he picks me up. It's maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. He drives me to the state park specifically because I had never been before. And specific to note about this state park next to my hometown, it isn't, when I say in the middle of nowhere, I legitimately mean in the middle of nowhere. The closest gas station is like multiple miles away. Nobody lives near there. Yeah, you get the gist. So we get there, he originally parks in front of this watchtower. We're walking up the watchtower. Something to note about me, you're gonna learn about two of my fears today. I am afraid of heights. The tower starts shaking from the small amount of wind, and I immediately am like, hey, I don't like this. We're about halfway up. I don't like this. Let's go down. So he's like, okay, I actually thought you might be scared, so I have an alternate way for us to go look at the stars, but we have to walk through the woods. Usually, and before I get any comments about that, I know, okay? I know. The only reason why I went is because he was like, it's like a minute and a half through the woods. Perfect. A minute and a half. No worries. I shouldn't have listened to him because it was a 10-minute walk, if not more. It is so dark in those effing woods that you cannot even see your hand in front of your face. I'm walking through the woods. I'm doing fine. My other fear is the dark. Okay, I'm a full-grown woman. I am exponentially scared of the dark. Like, unrealistically scared of the dark. We're walking, we hit a fence, and not just any fence, a barbed wire fence. By this time, my eyes are fully adjusted in the dark, and out in the distance, I can see a barn. Right next to the barn, I see a big silo, and if you don't know what a silo is, it's just this big metal structure that holds corn where I'm from. A lot of farmers have them, and I immediately ask him, is this someone's land? He doesn't really answer me, and I'm like, no, seriously, is this someone's land? Because I'm not going to get shot tonight. Because where I'm from, they're not going to ask you on their 5 acres of land what you're doing on their land. They're just going to shoot you because they don't know who you are at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Or I guess what you are. So finally he tells me it's someone's land, and I'm like, I'm not trespassing on someone's land. Like, no thanks. 3 strikes and you're out. I've walked through the woods. I have tried to conquer my fear of heights, and I'm walking in the dark. No. This is no. So finally he's like, okay, fine. Like, we'll go back to the car and I'll drive you home. As we're walking, I don't know what it was. The hair on the back of my neck suddenly stood up. I start to feel like someone is watching me. And all my girlies with anxiety like me, you know what I'm talking about. But this was different. This was different. This was like burning 2 holes in the back of my head because they're staring so hard. And it was so bad that I kept turning around, and there was literally no one there. My eyes are fully adjusted at this point. There is no one there that I can see. And I start walking so close to this dude that I'm flat tiring his shoes, which means I'm like stepping on the back of his shoes every couple of steps, and he's getting super mad at me. But eventually I just grab his arm and I say, there is something out here with us. And I made sure to whisper it because at the end of the day, if there is a living human being out there, I don't want them knowing that I feel like something is wrong. And number 2, it was really quiet out there, like deafeningly silent. And he immediately tells me, like, Elena, it's okay, like your anxiety, it's okay. I understand that you're scared of the dark, but everything's gonna be fine. Like, there's no one else out here. There's no other cars. Everything's gonna be fine. We take probably 3 steps and start to hear rustling. And immediately, this is when my breath literally is taken away. Like, I'm like, I can't breathe. And again, he's like rubbing my back, and he's like, it's okay. Like, there is seriously no one else out here. You're gonna be fine. We're walking for maybe a minute. We have our flashlights out, From our right, a rock doesn't tumble out. It is thrown out into the middle of the path that we're walking. I mean, like, right in front of us. Like, someone threw it. This was a game time decision, right? Right. I left him in the woods. I ran so fast, I left him in the woods. I have never ran faster in my entire life. In all my running girlies, I ran for a minute. Sprinted for a minute. I get to his car and I'm trying the door handles and I immediately am going through all these scenarios. I'm like, what am I going to do if if there is a person in the woods? So I'm trying the door handles. I'm going to like literally every door and all of them are locked. And all of a sudden I hear him giggling and like jogging out of the forest. And he was like, that rabbit really scared me. A rabbit? And I probably look disgusting at this point, but I legitimately lost my mind on him. I was like, since when do rabbits pick up rocks and throw them at people? Since when has that ever happened? But anyways, we get in the car, we drive off. The whole time, I'm asking him, what do you think that was? What do you think that was? Do you think that was a real person? Do you think that was a ghost? What was that? And I don't think he took me very seriously at the time because he was like, whatever. Needless to say, I never talked to him ever again. And now I will elaborate on why it's so scary to me. I don't think that was paranormal by any means. Because when you experience something paranormal, it's almost like an instantaneous thought, right? You're trying to rationalize. You're trying to go through the scenarios in your head on how it is possible that happened. This was different. I have never felt so fearful in my entire life. And let me ask you this. When you get home late at night, maybe after a night out, or when you get home from work, school, etc., what do you think you're going to see when you turn the light on in your room? Probably some decor, probably your bed, your desk, maybe a pet lives there, I don't know. But you anticipate on what you're going to see because you're prepared for what you're going to see. I'm not comparing bedrooms in the woods, but I was not anticipating someone else to be out there because there's no cars out there. There was no way for someone to get out there if they didn't get there before the sun went down, if you catch my drift. And I think there's something, at the end of the day, there is something so deeply frightening about knowing someone was watching you the whole time. And there is something equally as frightening knowing you never saw them. And then you have to think about a plethora of things. Like, why was that person following two teenagers in the woods without making their presence known? How did that person get out into the middle of the woods in the middle of the night? I left a key part of the effing story out. When we got there and we got our little pass, the state trooper or whoever was working there told us that we were the last people going in. So be that as you may, moral of the story, you never know.
Can we show them the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
So story time. I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really have any friends or family in the area anyway. I ended up going to Massachusetts. When I got there, I didn't really know anybody. It was a totally new environment. It was unfamiliar. It was kind of scary, but eventually I met a guy at the school. He was really nice. We started dating. Eventually we got a place together and we lived in that house together for 3 years, and we were happy the whole time. Like, he's very, very sweet, very caring, very loving. You know, I just didn't feel alone for the first time, and it was absolutely wonderful. But around the 3-year mark, I started going through something. I started not to feel good. So obviously my first guess was pregnancy, so I took a pregnancy test, but that wasn't it. I was having like headaches and stomach aches and feeling nauseated all the time, feeling like extra sleepy, but it wasn't really like life-ruining symptoms. So I just started doing like ginger for the nausea and like soup if I had a tummy ache, a little bit of Excedrin if I had a headache, whatever, you make it work. But the symptoms just kind of kept getting worse. And like sometimes they would be so bad, I'd have a migraine or a nausea to the point that I couldn't even get up out of bed. And my boyfriend's like, babe, I think you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, what is a doctor gonna do? Like, it's not like I can't breathe. It's not like I have chest pain. I just have random unspecified symptoms. Like, what is he gonna do? But he's like, babe, like, you do not feel good. Like, you should go see a doctor. And I'm like, fine, whatever. So he schedules me a doctor's appointment. I go see the doctor, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. The doctor is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, cool. So I go back home, and things don't get better, but they start to get worse. Because now I'm not just feeling physically bad, I'm feeling bad mentally. And I don't mean my emotions. I'm not sad or depressed. I'm dealing with confusion. I keep finding things in my house in weird places that they shouldn't be. I open my kitchen drawer to get out cutlery, fork, knife. All my earrings are in there. I go look at my jewelry rack. All my cutlery's in there. Paintings that were hanged on the wall are like turning upside down. And at first I'm just like, okay, whatever, these things are very bizarre, but they're not really frightening. Like, I'm just trying to make this logical or reasonable in any way that I can. But I'm forgetting appointments. My fatigue is increasing. Like, it's just so much happening. And then it starts off slow. Little shadows of, like, in my peripheral vision. Little sounds. And like, you can have those things normally. Like, I think we all have those things occasionally. But they're coming more common and more frequent. And I'm starting to lose, like, time. Like, whole days I cannot remember. So finally I make myself an appointment. I go see a therapist. She does the intake, my assessment, and she's like, okay, you fit the diagnostic criteria for schizophrenia. So that was kind of like hard to hear, but at the same time I was thinking, okay, well, now we know what's wrong with me, I can get some help. And my therapist assured me, like, the medication we have these days can make your symptoms like almost nothing. You can go back to living a normal life. And I'm very grateful. I'm like, okay, good. So I break the news to my boyfriend, which was really scary because he was such a sweet and supportive person. I was just scared of being too much of a burden on him or losing him because he was kind of the only person that I had. But he was super sweet, super supportive. He held me while I cried. He went to go pick up my medication for me after running me a bath. Like, just really taking care of me. So I start taking my medicines, but things do not get better. In fact, they get worse because any kind of visuals or auditory hallucinations I was having are becoming more and more and more defined. And we switch medications like 2 or 3 times, and my therapist is like, oh, sometimes, you gotta switch medications a couple times until you find what works. But things are actively getting worse, and I'm seeing and hearing things in my house, and I know that, like, it feels so real. So at this point, I become convinced that I'm not sick, but my house is haunted. I know that sounds insane, but when you are dealing with so much confusion, bizarre things in your house, bizarre noises, like, you become afraid and you're willing to believe almost like anything that could possibly make things better. So I start getting into like these spiritual people talking about the paranormal, and I start trying to like do different things, like I'm burning sage, I'm doing like, whatever. And finally one day my boyfriend has to go help his dad with something. So he leaves me home alone, and I don't fully know what happened, but I do know that apparently I ended up leaving my house a little bit scantily clad, and apparently I was just kind of running around aimlessly, got picked up by the police, taken to the hospital, and obviously psych. And I wake up in the hospital, and as soon as I wake up, the nurse is all over me, like white on rice. And she tells me just wait right there a moment. And I don't know how much time has passed. All I know is that I just woke up in the hospital. And I'm in a room by myself, completely isolated. There's nobody else there. And she comes back with a doctor, my therapist, 3 people, a man, a woman, and another girl. And they're all nicely dressed, beautiful people. And they look really familiar to me. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything anymore. And somebody who is not in a hospital uniform, and that person is in a police uniform. So now I'm looking at this cop And this room full of people, like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm afraid. So I asked them, like, am I in trouble? Am I in trouble? And they're like, no, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. But, you know, I'm thinking they're just saying that to get me to, like, talk about whatever it was that happened. So the cop is, you know, he's asking me all these questions. Then the doctor cuts in and asks questions. And the nurse is writing a bunch of things down. And the therapist is writing a bunch of things down. But their questions are, like, mad normal. They're just like, what's your name? How old are you? Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Tell us about your family. Da da da. And I'm like, okay, like, where are we getting to all this? And I'm just assuming, I've never been in this situation before in, like, a psych whatever. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, okay, whatever. I don't know their policy. So finally, they end up telling me that they have to give me some news. And my heart is pounding out of my chest at this point, because what news are you about to give me? I guarantee you guys cannot predict what the news was. My name was not the name that I thought I was. In fact, I was not the girl that I thought that I was. Apparently, when I was 17, I was working at the country club that my parents were a part of, and I was a lifeguard. And there was a boy there whose family was not part of the country club, but he had, like, a small summer job washing dishes or something. And he developed a very unhealthy fixation on me. And he made me very uncomfortable, and he was following me and watching me, and my family was very worried about it. My friends were very worried about it, but I wasn't worried about it because I was just like, you know, whatever, I'm going to be leaving for college soon, and I was an Ohio kid, and I was going to the Ohio State University, and I was very excited about that. The boy, when the summer ended, went to college, and guess where he went to college? Massachusetts. The boyfriend that I had been living with for 3+ years, he actually kidnapped me, took me to Massachusetts, made me shave my head and wear wigs, used a combination of hypnosis tactics, medicines, and illegal substances and abuse to brainwash me into thinking I was a totally different girl. He told me that my family had died in a car crash. That was absolutely not true. My entire family is alive and well, and they were the 3 people that were in the hospital room when I woke up. He was using sedatives and hallucinogens and any illegal substance basically he could get his hands on to make me think that I was going crazy so that my dependence on him would never end. Oh, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, but didn't he tell you to go to the doctor? Yeah, he did. The doctor he sent me to was his dad, who was previously a doctor, but lost his nursing license for basically being inappropriate with patients. And get this, his father was a serial unaliver responsible for the deaths of 8 women in Hyannis. And when I was taken into the hospital, they were finally able to identify me and give me my life back. If you stayed until the end of this video, that was completely fake. That was only for entertainment purposes. None of those things happened to me. I do make original horror content. I am an author and a poet. I hope you guys liked my story. If you stayed for the whole thing, if you would like to see more original horror content on my channel, comment down below. I really hope you guys were entertained by that. Thanks.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Mia was one of those people who collected ghost stories like trophies, always eager to poke around old abandoned places. I, on the other hand, hated that stuff, but Mia had a certain way of drawing me in. Her excitement was always too contagious. Plus, she was my best friend, so wherever Mia went, I wasn't too far behind. We'd been glued to the hip ever since we met. Mia's latest infatuation was this old abandoned house she found a couple of nights ago while driving through the countryside part of town. Her eyes probably shot wide with amazement as she drove past and spotted it hidden behind large tangled vines and trees. Ever since then, she's been talking about it nonstop, begging and bribing me to go explore with her. Come on, you know I can't go without you. You're my partner in crime, Mia urged while texting me the address. Let's go check it out tomorrow, around midnight, for the full effect. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The house was way creepier than what she initially described it as. I should have figured she always sugarcoats these so-called explorations. The house itself was massive, a worn-out relic from another century, looming dark and silent at the end of the road. There was something wrong with it, though, that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I don't know, maybe it was the way the trees arched around it, almost like they were reaching out to grab it. I was hesitant, but we were already here, might as well. We got to the front porch and Mia rattled the doorknob, unlocked it, she pushed it open, and we stepped inside. The air was thick, musty, but beneath the smell of mildew was something else, something faintly sweet. We turned on our flashlights, beams sweeping over peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture draped in yellowed sheets. "Come on," Mia whispered. "Let's explore." The floorboards groaned under our feet as we moved deeper into the house. Our footsteps echoed in the vast emptiness, making it feel like we weren't alone. Every so often I'd catch movement in the corner of my eye, just a flicker, and my heart would race, only to find Mia had simply passed in front of a shadow. The uneasiness grew, though, and it grew. In one of the rooms upstairs, we found a nursery frozen in time. The walls were painted a faded blue, with chipped animal designs barely clinging on, and a single crib stood in the corner, blanketed in dust, but there was something in it. Mia, always braver, walked straight up to it. "Ugh, it's a doll," she said, lifting it out of the crib. Its face was cracked, but what made goosebumps run up and down my arm was the fact that it had no eyes. It was dressed in this white nightgown that hung loosely from its tiny, brittle frame. She turned it over and we both froze. Someone had carved the name Mia into the back of the doll's head, jagged letters scratched deep into the porcelain. A chill ran down my spine. I could have sworn I heard a faint giggle, a child's laugh coming from the hall. I looked at Mia in pure horror, but as always she was nonchalant. She could tell that I was really freaked out, though. "Oh my gosh, how many bitches at our school has the name Mia? It's a common name, it's okay," she said while laughing and throwing the doll back in the crib, insisting we keep exploring. So, reluctantly, we left the nursery and wandered down a narrow hall. At the end of it, there was a locked door. "Think there's a key around here?" Mia asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. "I don't think we should go in there," I replied, suddenly gripped by an intense feeling that something waited for us on the other side of that door, something that wanted us to come inside. But Mia, stubborn as ever, didn't listen, and as if she knew exactly where to look, she reached for the top of the door, and on her tippy toes she ran her fingers along the frame, and suddenly stopped. "Gotcha," she whispered as she found a small rusted key. It fit perfectly. The door creaked open, revealing a dim, small room with walls lined in shelves. Each shelf held dozens of dolls, all in various states of decay, except these ones had eyes unlike the one in the nursery. But what disturbed me the most was that their eyes looked a little too real. At times it looked like they were following us as we moved throughout the room. I couldn't stand looking at them. Mia went straight up to take a closer look. I decided to examine other elements of the room. And then, as my flashlight swept over the walls, I saw something sticking out from behind the door. I slowly closed the door, and that's when I saw it. A series of photographs pinned to the back of the door. Black and white Polaroids with names written at the bottom, each capturing a girl holding one of the dolls, and their faces solemn and empty, but their eyes, all of the girls were missing their eyes. "Mia, look," I whispered as I backed up slowly, breath heavy, while I examined each and every photograph and name. Lizzie, Mary, Abby, Jessie, Becca, Beatrice, Sophie, Lauren, Maddie, Louie, Riley. Then as my back hit the opposite end of the small room, my heart skipped a beat when I saw the last photograph. It was Mia. The air turned suffocating, my head spinning, my words stuck in my throat. Mia, I think we should leave. But when I turned to find Mia, she was gone, and all that stood in her place were the now empty shelves that once held the dolls. My heart hammering, my head spinning, I ran out of the room extremely dizzy, clinging to the walls for support as I began shouting her name. As I stumbled back throughout the house, looking in each and every room I went by, as I was about to run past the last room, the nursery, something made me freeze. As I stood there alone in the middle of the hallway, a few steps before the nursery, I heard whispers coming from the room. Mia, is that you? Only soft giggles answering my question. I slowly pick up my feet, heart beating louder and louder with each step. My flashlight shakes in my hand as I inch towards the door. I stand next to the door with my back against the wall, building up the courage to look in the room. The giggles and whispers become louder and faster. With my eyes fixed on the ground, I turn my head to peer in the room, my eyes still on the ground, my body refusing to look up, but the desire to know is infecting me. My breath heavy, my heart pounding. I begin to slowly lift my eyes from the ground, revealing the scenery ever so slowly. As my gaze rises, I pause. I first see a bunch of bare feet standing around, filling the room, all wearing white nightgowns, just like the dolls. My heart feels like it's about to explode. Just one more look up and I'd be face to face with whomever or whatever was in the room. Clenching my jaw, I raise my gaze one final time, the whispers immediately coming to an abrupt halt, and I let out a soft gasp. Standing in the middle of the room is a group of girls, the same girls from the photograph. In silence, they stare directly at me with their empty sockets. In the middle of the group, sitting down on a chair, was Mia, holding a doll. My hand shoots up to cover my mouth from letting out a scream of terror as I see that Mia's eyes have been taken out of her socket, and one of the girls standing next to her, holding them, dangling them by the veins still attached to the ends. And all of a sudden, all of their mouths dropped wide open with a crack. It was as if they were going to let out a tremendous loud scream, but no sound came out. Mia slowly lifted her hand and pointed at me. I knew what was going to happen next. They were gonna take my eyes. I dropped my flashlight and bolted for the door, leaping down the stairs, skipping 5 or 6 steps. As I approach the wide open front door, it slams shut right before I can go through it. I turn around and I see all of the missing-eyed girls standing at the top of the stairs, slowly making their way down towards me. Panicking, I picked up the closest thing next to me. I don't know what it was, either a lamp or a vase. It doesn't matter. I smashed it against the window, shattering the glass. I climbed through, my arm snagging on the sharp glass, ripping my skin open. Blood dripped from my arm as I frantically got in my car and dialed the police as I drove. I went straight to the hospital and I got 17 stitches on my forearm. And after about an hour or two, the police met me there. They said that they searched the whole house, every room, every hidden corner, but they found no trace of Mia, no doll, not even a single photograph. Just the broken window I came out of. I kept trying to explain to them, but they didn't believe me. The next day I went to her house to see if she might have gone home. I knocked on her door and her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Webbs, answered. I immediately asked frantically about Mia and if she had came home last night and if they heard from her, but they just stared at me with a look of confusion. Who's Mia? Mrs. Webb asked, the words swirling around in my head as disbelief and horror strike across my face. What the hell do you mean, who's Mia? Mia, your daughter, Mia, my best friend, Mia, I said while freaking out, but all they did was stare at me like I was crazy. And then Mrs. Webb takes my hand and with a soft voice says, "Oh, honey, are you feeling okay? Did you forget to take your medication today?" I immediately snatched my hand from her grip, my eyes wide with horror. This can't be happening. This can't be happening. Why don't I call your mother? Mrs. Webb asked, but I ignore her as I rush back to my car. As I get back in my car, I take out my phone and I try to call Mia, but her contact is gone. I then looked through my camera roll and I looked through every single picture I had with Mia, and It was empty. It was now just me by myself. Am I losing it? Am I losing my mind? She's gone. It's like she's never existed. She's just erased. I can't find Mia. Good night.